Today is Friday, May 19th. We'll tell you where the debt limit talks stand now and how some Democrats and Republicans want to punish themselves if a deal is not reached. Also, the FDA and its advisors made 2 new decisions impacting pregnant women and their babies. Plus, why millions of American car owners could be entitled to thousands of dollars each. How more people can start using the AI chatbot ChatGPT. And which famous athlete is making a highly anticipated comeback today. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Bipartisan negotiators are still rushing to reach some sort of deal on the debt ceiling before the end of this month. And reports say they're starting to find some common ground. But there are also some hardliners from both parties who are not willing to negotiate. One point of progress, reports say President Biden might be willing to include stricter work requirements for social safety net programs. But some liberal Democrats call that a non-starter. While some conservative Republicans say House Speaker Kevin McCarthy should suspend all negotiations until the Senate passes the House GOP bill that would unwind some of Biden's spending priorities. All of that said, negotiators still think they'll come up with a deal in time. If Congress doesn't increase the debt ceiling, the government is expected to run out of money in less than 2 weeks now. So a couple of lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are now saying if that happens, they should not get paid either. They're introducing a bill that would suspend their own paychecks if the U.S. enters a debt default or if the government shuts down, though they would still get their pay eventually. At this point, it's not clear whether the measure has a chance of passing. Stay tuned. It's the latest development in an ongoing feud between Florida's governor and the state's largest employer. The Walt Disney Company canceled 2 major investments in the state. First, the plans to build a nearly $1 billion office complex and move more than 2,000 jobs from California to Florida. On that one, the New York Times cites sources who say the dispute between Disney and Governor Ron DeSantis factored heavily in the decision. Remember, it all started when Disney criticized a new Florida law banning talk of sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. Soon after, Governor DeSantis moved to end the special district around Disney World and bring in a state board to oversee the theme park and resort. And that board has been clashing with Disney. All that said, the feud is likely not the only reason for Disney's backtracking. Officially, Disney just blames changing business conditions. And those changing conditions likely also include multi-billion-dollar budget cuts happening within the company. Disney World is also reportedly closing its Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser experience by this fall. A spokesperson for the office of Governor DeSantis told the New York Times, quote, "Given the company's financial straits, falling market cap, and declining stock price, it is unsurprising that they would restructure." Shares of Disney went up yesterday, but they are still down about 45% from 2 years ago. The U.S. Supreme Court handed tech companies a big victory this week. The justices sided with Twitter, Google, and Facebook in a lawsuit that tried to argue the companies should be liable for ISIS attacks because of the content the terror organization was able to promote on their platforms. The High Court disagreed, saying the tech companies didn't knowingly give ISIS substantial help. In a separate but similar case, justices got a more direct opportunity to weigh in on the underlying internet law known as Section 230. It's the law that gives online platforms legal immunity for almost everything that can be found on their sites. And the High Court was asked to clarify how far the scope of Section 230 really goes. Well, it didn't address that argument at all. So that case gets sent back to lower courts for reconsideration. In response, lawmakers from both parties again called for Section 230 to be overhauled. But the tech companies have said changing Section 230 would, quote, upend the internet. They say they'd have to dramatically cut down the amount of content they allow on their services. So their lawyers say they'll keep fighting as critics keep trying to change Section 230 for good. We talked about this case more in depth as part of our special edition Saturday episode on May 6th, so we'll link to it in today's episode notes. To be continued. The U.S. has seen a couple of big strides in prenatal health care this week. First, FDA advisors endorsed giving pregnant women a new vaccine to protect their newborns from RSV. The common respiratory virus is especially dangerous for children under 6 months old. While the latest trial data from the Pfizer vaccine was nearly 70% effective at protecting babies in their first 6 months. So the FDA advisors gave it a thumbs up. But some of them do still want more safety data. The full FDA is expected to make a final decision on the shots this summer before the next RSV season in the fall. Separately, for the first time, the FDA approved a blood test to gauge a pregnant woman's risk of severe preeclampsia. That's a leading cause of pregnancy-related illness that happens when something goes wrong with a woman's placenta during pregnancy. And it's becoming increasingly common. Typically, pregnant women with preeclampsia are admitted to the hospital until they get to a point when doctors can deliver their baby. But this new test should be able to help some of those women who are not of the highest risk to go home before delivery. More than 15 million Americans are in the path of severe storms today, from Texas to Tennessee. Meteorologists say a few big cities could be hit this time around, including Austin, Dallas, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, and Memphis. The biggest threats include heavy rain, strong winds, and large hail the size of eggs. But Texas especially is at risk of seeing tornadoes, too. And while that stormy weather is definitely not ideal, AccuWeather says rain will help some of the hardest hit drought areas in the southern plains. And things should clear up by tomorrow. We have more news coming up, but first, I want to let you know about our partner, Athletic Greens. Some habits can be hard to stick to, but have you ever had the ones that you start to crave because they just make you feel better? That's what AG1 from Athletic Greens has become for me. I wanted boosted energy, better gut health, and a way to get a wide variety of nutrients. And now I get all of that with AG1. In fact, it now feels like an easy little something that I do just for myself each morning. It's 1 scoop of powder mixed with water. I also like to put in ice and a splash of lemon juice. And very quickly, I noticed that it helps me with improved digestion, morning hydration, and just an overall feeling that I'm ready to start the day. AG1 is made from 75 of the highest quality whole food sourced ingredients from around the world, intentionally curated for their ability to nourish all of the body's systems in harmony. So if you are looking for a simpler and cost-effective supplement routine, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/newsworthy. That's athleticgreens.com/newsworthy. Check it out. A rare phenomenon is going to be on display over the moon this weekend. It's called the Da Vinci Glow, or Earthshine. It looks like a thin crescent moon up against a faint outline of a shadowy full moon. No one knew what caused the glow until the 16th century when Leonardo da Vinci figured it out. He determined it happens when sunlight hits the Earth, bounces to the moon, then back to us. By Sunday, you should start to see it about an hour after sunset. 2 automakers are now paying back millions of customers because their cars keep getting stolen. A class action lawsuit accused Kia and Hyundai of making vehicles way too easy to steal. You might remember teens have been challenging each other to steal Kias and Hyundais and posting videos showing how they do it on social media. Lawyers who represented vehicle owners in this case say the companies could have prevented these thefts if they had just equipped their vehicles with a common anti-theft device. Now the owners of about 9 million vehicles that did not come with that device are eligible for a payout. You qualify if you own a Kia or Hyundai vehicle from the 2011 through 2022 model years that have the traditional insert and turn key ignition system. All in all, the settlement could be worth about $200 million total, depending on how many customers actually decide to collect. The law firm behind the lawsuit says it's working to get a website up to help impacted owners get their portions of the settlement. Hyundai and Kia also say they'll reimburse owners for insurance deductibles, higher insurance premiums, and other theft-related lawsuits. Plus, the companies have already started doing free software upgrades that should make the cars harder to steal. The fastest-growing consumer application in history can now be used on the go. ChatGPT just came out with a free iPhone and iPad app in the U.S., and a ChatGPT Android app is apparently coming soon. Unlike the desktop version, the mobile version lets people speak to it using their voice, and it will sync chat histories across all devices. It's now been more than 5 months since ChatGPT was released to the general public in any form. As you know, it sparked a lot of excitement and worry about its ability to write essays, poems, computer code, and conversational answers to almost any question. In fact, the Wall Street Journal reports Apple has now restricted some employees from using ChatGPT and other AI, even though it is making it available in its App Store. The Journal says the tech giant is worried workers who use chatbots could release confidential data. Other companies that have banned their employees from using ChatGPT include JPMorgan Chase and Verizon. Wendy's could soon be the most high-tech restaurant out there. The fast food chain now says it's testing out a robot-powered underground delivery system for online order pickups. Wendy's is working with the autonomous logistics company Pipedream on this one. The idea is to have robots travel through tunnels to transport online food orders from kitchens to so-called instant pickup portals behind parking spaces. At this point, Wendy's has not rolled out the technology to any locations yet, but says it's planning to start testing the system later this year. Separately, Wendy's says it's partnering with Google to create an AI chatbot that can take your order. It's bringing its first AI-enabled drive-thru to a restaurant in Ohio next month. It's comeback time for basketball star Brittany Griner. She's only been back in the U.S. for 5 months now since being imprisoned in Russia on drug-related charges. But now she's ready to get back to competing. The WNBA's 27th season starts today, and Griner is expected to hit the court with her team, the Phoenix Mercury, when they play the Los Angeles Sparks. She was not able to play any basketball during her 10 months in Russian custody, but Griner's coach says she's been amazed by her ability to bounce back. On top of playing for the Mercury this season, Griner will also have a new side gig. She's now working with a campaign called Bring Our Families Home, put together by family members of American hostages and wrongful detainees held overseas. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, this episode is sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And my new favorite thing to get from HelloFresh is the Fast and Fresh meal plan. These meals are ready in just about 15 minutes, and they are quick yet delicious and homemade meals for busy weeknights. We recently made Parmesan chive chicken and potatoes with mixed greens and honey Dijon dressing. And while I was dicing up the chives for this meal, I realized I would probably not buy chives myself because I just don't have that kind of time to meal plan so extensively and scour the grocery store for that one ingredient that I don't usually buy. Instead, I appreciate that HelloFresh takes away all that hassle by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients. So I have exactly what I need, and it gives my whole family a taste of the kind of food and seasonings that I might not otherwise buy. I also love that it cuts down on food waste. And by the way, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so no matter what you do, there's something for everyone. So go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use that code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. And now back to Feel Good Friday. Today, we are talking about a woman who was just looking for people to hang out with and have some fun with and ended up tackling a crisis of loneliness in her city. When Holly Cook moved to London, she found herself feeling isolated. So she started a Facebook group to make new friends. And now it's grown to more than 35,000 members. It's called the London Lonely Girls Club. Cook and a few volunteers organize fun events like brunches, game nights, art lessons, yoga, cocktail parties, and more. Cook says the hardest part for her was admitting she was lonely. But she quickly realized there were many others who felt the same way, especially after pandemic lockdowns, and that she could help. Now Cook says she's lost count of how many women have made long-term friendships through her group. And she says, quote, "As long as there's a need, we will be here." Similar groups have also popped up here in the U.S., and the founders say everyone is welcome. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. Why our expert guest calls the state of COVID today weird. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.